Okay, so think about milk for a second. That carton in your fridge doesn't exactly scream tech revolution, does it? Well, maybe it should. Turns out, even the dairy aisle is getting this pretty significant tech upgrade in some, well, surprising ways. Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we grab a whole stack of sources, dig in, and pull out the most important bits of insight for you. Today, we're diving into a surprisingly dynamic area, the global milk vending machine market.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And for this deep dive, we're working from some really detailed market research excerpts. They're from Cognitive Market Research, specifically their report, Global Milk Vending Machine Market Growth Projections 2021-2033. It's packed with data, but it tells a much bigger story than just the numbers.
Absolutely. So our mission today, unpack these insights, really get a handle on what's driving this, frankly, surprising growth, and uncover some pretty interesting regional trends that are really changing how we get fresh milk. Let's kick off with a big global number, one that really jumped out at me. So back in 2021, this market, milk vending machines, was worth just over $813 million. Okay, sounds decent, but here's the kicker. By 2033, that number is projected to more than double. We're talking soaring past $2.1 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a really robust compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, over 8.3% every single year.
And what's really interesting is that the source it clearly lays out the reasons why. The core drivers behind this acceleration, we're seeing big steps in automation, for one. And then there's this rising demand for more hygienic ways to get dairy.
Right, hygiene makes sense.
Totally. And also a growing preference among consumers for really farm-fresh stuff, direct-to-consumer models.
Yeah.
Plus, just sheer convenience and this increasing focus on sustainability.
Yeah.
These aren't just small tweaks. They're pretty fundamental shifts in how people buy things and the tech available.
Yeah, it's definitely not just a niche thing anymore, is it? But okay, what does this growth actually look like on the ground? Let's shift gears and explore how these trends are playing out differently around the world, region by region. I think you might be surprised by some of the real hot spots. Let's start with Europe. It had the biggest market share back in 2021, pulling in over $308 million, and is projected to keep a strong pace, growing at a solid CAGR of almost 7.7%. That takes it to around $750 million by 2033.
And digging into Europe, you see some key countries really driving that. The UK, for example, it's set to more than double its market value by 2033, growing at over 7.2% a year. Germany and France, very similar stories.
Yeah.
Robust growth, also around that 7% mark. So widespread adoption across Western Europe. Italy strong too, nearly 7.6% CAGR. But, what kind of jumps out are these surprisingly fast expansions in Russia and Spain.
Spain? Really?
Yeah, Spain's projected to nearly triple its market value. The CAGR there is over 9.1%. That makes it one of the fastest growers in Europe. And Russia's not far behind, also very swift growth, over 8.3% annually.
Okay, hold on. So we've got solid growth in the big economies like UK, Germany, France. But then Spain and Russia are really accelerating. And here's where it gets really interesting for me. This rest of Europe category, all the smaller markets bundled together, it's seeing this massive surge, a leading 10.5% CAGR, growing from just over $15 million to almost $52 million by 2033. What could possibly be driving that? I mean, such a huge surge in these often maybe less developed areas compared to their bigger neighbors.
That is a great question. And the source hints at a few things. Often, this rest of Europe surge, it's driven by maybe smaller, more agile startups or even individual farmers in these emerging markets. They're adopting these machines faster, maybe because they don't have that really established traditional supermarket infrastructure like in, say, Germany or France.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a classic case of leapfrogging, skipping the old ways and finding these machines are a super efficient direct-to-consumer way to sell fresh milk.
That makes a lot of sense. Leapfrogging. Interesting. Okay, so from Europe's diverse picture, let's hop across the Atlantic. North America. This region brought in nearly $246 million in 2021, and it's projected to hit over $633 million by 2033. That's a healthy 8.2% CAGR.
Right. And within North America, no huge surprise, the U.S. is the biggest piece of the pie. Its market's projected to more than double by 2033. Reflecting a strong 7.9% CAGR. Canada also shows really strong expansion, set to nearly triple, actually, with an 8.8% CAGR. But what's kind of fascinating, like you saw in Europe, is the diversity even within the region. Mexico is actually leading the growth charge there, a really fast-paced 9.1% CAGR.
Wow, Mexico.
Yeah. It suggests a particularly quick uptake of the milk vending model there, maybe driven by convenience in busy cities, or maybe just a strong demand for easy access, hygienic, fresh milk.
Interesting variation. Okay, next up, the Asia-Pacific region, rapidly developing, and wow, this area has the highest regional PAGR globally, an impressive 9.5%. The market there grows from almost $146 million in 21 to a pretty substantial $433 million projected by 2033. That's a huge jump.
It really is. And China is a definite standout. Its CAGR is over 10.4%, projected to triple its market value. India is another absolute powerhouse. It shows the highest CAGR in the whole region, actually, over 10.6%. That's almost quadrupling its market.
Incredible numbers.
Yeah. Japan's also growing strongly, over 8.3% annually. South Korea projected to nearly triple its market. Australia expanding significantly, too. What seems clear here is just this broad embrace of the technology across the continent, especially where you have, high population density and that strong demand for hygienic, direct access to fresh stuff. These machines just fit the bill.
Makes sense. Okay, switching continents again. South America. Also a strong story there. Its regional market is expected to almost triple, from around $51 million in 2021 to over $144 million by 2033. That's an impressive 9% CAGR overall.
And Brazil really led the charge in South America. Its market is projected to triple by 2033, growing at a really impressive 9.5% CGR. Argentina, Colombia, Chile, they also showed very strong growth, all posting high single-digit annual growth rates.
It's pretty widespread then.
Yeah, exactly. This widespread adoption across quite diverse South American economies, it really points to a growing consumer appetite for, well, convenient and fresh milk options that these machines deliver.
Okay, moving on to the Middle East. We're seeing significant expansion there too. The market's projected to almost triple again, from nearly $44 million in 2021 to over $121 million by 2033. That's with a healthy 8.8% CAGR.
Right. And in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia really emerged as a key player. Its market is projected to more than triple, actually, boasting a high 9.8% CAGR.
Almost 10%, wow.
Yeah. Turkey followed, over 8.3% CAGR, and the UAE expanded at nearly 9% CAGR. So this region's growth really highlights how that demand for modern hygienic dairy access, it's accelerating even in areas maybe with different kinds of agricultural setups.
Good point. Okay, finally, let's turn to Africa. Now, its market for these machines is smaller right now compared to other regions, but it's still seeing meaningful growth. The market was just under $19 million in 2021, and it's projected to rise to over $42 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of about 6.2%.
Yes, and looking within Africa, South Africa's market is set to more than double, with a 6.5% CAGR. Nigeria is also seeing substantial growth. And while that overall growth rate is lower than, say, Asia-Pacific, it still reflects a pretty significant adoption of this tech. It shows its global reach, really, and how it meets practical needs for getting dairy, especially maybe in rapidly urbanizing areas.
Yeah, absolutely. So zooming back out, the big picture trend is crystal clear, isn't it? The global market for milk vending machines is just on this really strong upward path. The numbers, when you actually dig into them like this, they really tell a story. And this growth, it isn't random. It's being powerfully driven by, well, changing habits, right? That increasing demand for contactless ways to get dairy
Right.
and just expanding reach, getting into rural and semi-urban places that maybe traditional supermarkets don't serve that well.
Exactly. And what's particularly striking, looking at the source data, is where the really big growth potential seems concentrated. Asia Pacific, South America, and the Middle East, those CGRs are huge. This sector, just as the research highlights, it genuinely seems poised to, well, maybe revolutionize how fresh milk is accessed and consumed globally. Moving beyond just the supermarket shelf to these super localized, often farm-direct machines.
So, okay, wrapping up. What does this all mean for the future of how we get our food? I mean, could we see similar vending models pop up for other fresh things like produce, maybe even meat, using these smart automated systems? Or does this signal something broader, like a shift in what we as consumers expect, maybe wanting more direct from the producer options for all sorts of products, cutting out the middleman? It's definitely something interesting to think about, maybe next time you're making your grocery list. Anyway, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the surprisingly high-tech and fascinating world of milk vending machines. And just a reminder, all the figures and forecasts we talked about today were sourced directly from that cognitive market research report.